Tenants are using TikTok to learn how to scam landlords during the application process and commit rental application fraud. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's an article about a topic that I have covered before, and that's rental application fraud. Now, what a lot of these people are doing is they're going out on to TikTok, they're going on to Twitter or X or whatever they call it now, right? They're going on to these different applications and they're trying to figure out, how can I stay in this unit for as long as possible without paying rent? How can I get into this unit and trick this landlord so that they rent to me even though I may have an eviction or very negative stuff on my background or credit history, right? So these people are going out and they're trying to take advantage of landlords. And in some jurisdictions, the cities and municipalities themselves are helping enable this sort of action, okay? So they have no clue, the people who put these laws in place, that, hey, scam artists exist. Wow, what a surprise. This isn't something that surprises any landlord out there. The only people it surprises is these bleeding heart, far left-leaning morons who think that all people are good people. No, that's not the truth at all, okay? There are a lot of people out there who are scammers. There's a lot of people who will steal and take something from you, and they will do everything they can, and they will never admit fault. So the best thing for us as landlords is to not let them into our units in the first place. The problem is that, hey, we have TikTok influencers set up trying to train people how to trick us. We've got cities and municipalities working against us, and we got a very negative image being portrayed by the media that we are the bad guys somehow. What a joke. What a joke. So I'm going to go out there, I'm going to put out correct information. I'm going to tell you why these sort of people are wrong, and this sort of thing, this application fraud, is a complete it's just regular fraud. It's just fraud. It's criminal. It's wrong. And it should be something that somebody gets arrested for. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Okay, have you been a victim of this rental application fraud by people who have put stuff on their rental application that is fraudulent, or by people who use misleading tactics in order to try to rent one of your properties? Okay, I have personally had people try this stuff with me. Fortunately, I was able to catch it, but I've not been a victim in terms of, had somebody up in my unit who scammed me over. Now, the people I put in my unit, some of them have still scammed me over, but their background did not show that they were a bad tenant when I rented to them, okay? So that's a little bit different story. That's not what I'm talking about today. So anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from therealdeal.com, and it says, renters are using TikTok to learn identity and document fraud. Multifamily owners are concerned about the proliferation of application fraud. Shouldn't just be the multifamily owners, okay? Because the big owners, they're going to face a lot more of this, but the small owners, the people like myself, if we get one of these people up in our units, it can destroy our business completely, okay? Put us out of business. So anyway, let's see what this article says. The clock is ticking on tenants exploiting social media to scam apartment owners. Apps such as TikTok are proving instructive for renters committing identity and document fraud, BizNow reported. Fraudulent housing applications are starting to impact the bottom line of major multifamily landlords. Fraudsters are learning tactics on TikTok and other social media platforms where videos are posted that essentially demonstrate how to commit document and identity fraud. They take the lessons to typically seek approval for units, which require proof of identity, move in, and then neglect to pay rent. When landlords try to evict them, they disappear into the night as cases crawl through the courts. So, I'm one of those people who believes, freedom of speech, okay? You should be able to go on there and instruct people on how to do this sort of thing, okay? But landlords need to be informed about this stuff as well. And we should be watching those videos, right? Because if they're putting out there their tactics, that means that we know what we need to do in order to prevent this garbage from happening to us. So we know what they are trying to do to us. That means we can figure out who the scammers are like that. It won't even be hard. You're giving us all of your tactics. I mean, you know how easy it would be to defend against that? Now, I don't know exactly what they're doing. I haven't watched the videos myself, so that will have to be one of the things I personally have to do in order to prevent it from happening to me. But keep in mind that a lot of these scammers, they're working in areas and locations such as New York, such as California, in places where they know the process for eviction, it's long and slow and hard. Now, sometimes I do cover stories about, these sort of scammers who are operating in a place like Florida, right? But it's funny. The story is never about, hey, this Florida renter has been living in this house for 2 years and the landlord can't evict him. No, I never have read a story like that out of Florida. I've read about that in California and New York. I have read that, yes, there have been squatters or scammers living in a house in Florida that they were not entitled to, and it took a little while to get them out. But a little while to get them out in Florida is like a couple months. It isn't a couple of years, okay? Our members would say there's a cottage industry here of people learning about these kind of tactics and learning about these kind of fraud, said Paula Sino, a vice president of the National Multifamily Housing Council. Pages on TikTok, X, Reddit, and beyond are causing problems. Landlords have expressed disappointment with the response from law enforcement as a rise in leasing through online platforms has helped boost online real estate fraud. Internet-based real estate crime soared from $213 million in 2020 to $397 million last year, according to the FBI. The amount of fraud is going to continue to increase, and things are only going to be getting worse. That's why I said we have to come up with new strategies in order to fight this sort of thing, okay? We know these people are out there. We know that we could easily become a victim, and I think that the more that the large landlords, they focus on this sort of thing, they're going to push these scammers down into, where I am, down here with us small or mid-sized landlords, the people who own under 100 units. And we're going to be, just the people who get punished, destroyed by people who don't care. They don't give one darn about us. So when people say I'm cold, I'm heartless, I look at it as I have to treat all tenants in a certain way because I don't want to be scammed. I don't want to be the one who loses all his money to one of these people who is trying to take advantage of me, who thinks they can live for free on my hard work. Rick Campo, Chief Executive Officer of Camden Property Trust, was the victim of identity fraud over the summer as someone tried to rent a unit from a competitor in Charlotte, wrecking Campo's credit score. Campo referenced renter fraud frequency during a recent earnings call, as did the CEO of Mid-America Apartment Communities, who singled out the Atlanta market as a place of concern. Other places where the fraud is more common include Houston, LA, and Dallas. So we're talking about renter fraud being common in the largest cities in the country, apparently, because Houston, LA, Dallas, Atlanta, these are, top 10 biggest metropolitan areas in the entire country. Of course, we're going to see a lot more renter fraud in these sort of areas, especially when we're talking about Atlanta, Houston, and Dallas, because those housing markets, they're fast growing. They're very fast growing compared to the rest of the U.S. They're not growing fast enough to meet their population needs, but they are much, much faster growing than like Los Angeles. Los Angeles is actually a declining market, but it doesn't surprise me the other three on that list. The chief administrative officer for American Landmark Apartments said last year that 40% of the applications the company received monthly are fraudulent. A survey from Snapped last year found fraud in the application process, as reported by Landlords, increased from 66% pre-pandemic to 85%. Stats like this, now they make perfect sense to me. 40%, that is 4 out of every 10 applications that they received was full of fraud. Okay, it was fraudulent. Yet, keep in mind what the laws that a lot of these cities, these more progressive, left-leaning coastal cities are proposing, okay? They're proposing that, hey, landlords shouldn't be able to check the background information, the criminal history of these tenants. Landlords shouldn't be able to check the credit history or the credit scores of these tenants. Okay, landlords should be forced to accept people regardless of their source of income. You know, basically, if they actually talked to the landlords and figured out, well, why is your selection criteria so strict? Well, why is it that you need to see this background information? Well, this is why. Because if you take away our ability to screen our tenants with this amount of fraud, where 4 out of every 10 applications is fraudulent, well, we're going to be put into a position where, hey, not only is 4 out of 10 of our applications fraudulent, but 4 out of 10 of our tenants is going to be in our units, and they're going to be a complete fraud. They're going to be, you're making it easier for the tenants to be frauds, I'm sorry, but you are making it harder for us to run our businesses. When you have that many people out there who are lying, even though we have all these checks and balances, and now you're going to take those checks and balances away, what do you think is going to happen? So yeah, this is a complete travesty. Just that they're trying to pass these sort of laws right now. It's important to know that, hey, all of us landlords are going to eventually have to deal with this sort of situation, and we need to do everything we can to protect ourselves.